Booksellers' Sales in the 18th Century by William H. Peat. From Notes and Queries, Volume 9, April the 19th, 1890. This is recorded to celebrate the 8th anniversary of LibriVox. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The following extracts are from a curious and interesting collection of catalogues of sales, ranging from 1704 to 1768, in the possession of Messrs. Longmans and Company. They furnish useful information as to the value of literary property in the last century. First catalogue. A catalogue of books bound and in quires, the late stock of Mrs. Elizabeth Harris, deceased, which will be sold by auction to the booksellers only at the Bear in Avie Mary Lane on Monday the 11th of this instant, December 1704, beginning at 9 in the morning, when the company shall be entertained with a breakfast, and at noon with a good dinner and a glass of wine, and then proceed with the sale, in order to finish that evening." Up to about 1750 dinner was always on the table exactly at 1 of the clock. After that date the time was altered to 2 o'clock, and later still the dinner was sometimes omitted, and the following notice appears on the catalogue of Mr. John Clark, leaving off trade, in 1762. "Coffee and tea will be ready at 4 o'clock, and the sale begin as soon as St. Paul's clock strikes 5." Later still the time was altered to "tea and coffee at 5 and the sale at 6, as soon as St. Paul's clock strikes." On one occasion, "there will be a glass of good wine and an handsome supper." At Mr. T. Osborne's sale, on February the 9th, 1743-4, "at 11 of the clock in the forenoon, dinner will be on the table exactly at 1 of the clock, consisting of turkeys and chines, hams and chickens, apple pies, etc., and a glass of very good wine." Value of property. "Robinson Crusoe" was published by William Taylor in 1719 in 3 parts, and in the catalogue of his sale in 1725 it appears as follows: "Robinson Crusoe in 2 volumes, 8vo and 12mo, with cuts. £10 to be paid, presumably to the author, for every 1000 of the first part, and £10 10s. more when every 1000 of the second part is put to printing, and £5 more when 500 of the second volume are sold." One half of the copyright fetched 15 guineas, and the other half £15. The whole of the copyright of the third part was also offered, but is marked in the catalogue "not sold." A copy of the first edition of Robinson Crusoe was sold at Sotheby's on February the 17th for £40. At the sale of Mrs. Mary Richardson's "stock and copies," i.e. copyrights, in 1766, the following prices were realized: 1/40 Johnson's Dictionary, 2 volumes, 8vo, £27, equals whole £1080. 1/36 Milton's Paradise Lost, £25, equals whole £900. 1/64 Pope's Iliad and Odyssey, £17, equals whole £1080. 1/24 Clarissa, £25, equals whole £600. 1/16 Pamela, £18, equals whole £288. 1/24 Grandison, £20, equals whole £480. 1/32 Hervey's Meditations, £32, equals whole £1024. 1/16 Peregrine Pickle, £12, equals whole £192. 1/16 Roderick Random, 13 guineas, equals whole, £218 8s. 1 32nd Rambler, £21, equals whole, £672. 1 80th Tatler, 5 guineas, equals whole, £420. At the sale of the shares of John Nicholson, 1/8 of Tillotson's sermons fetched £250, being at the rate of £2000 for the whole. A memorandum attached to entry of Burkitt on the New Testament, "There is 9d. a book to be paid to the widow." Probably the most important sale was that of "the genuine stock of Jacob and Richard Tonson, Esquires," in 1767. The following well-known names appear among the buyers: Cadell, Rivington, Woodfall, T. Davis (Johnson's Tom Davis), Longman, Dilly, Newbery, Caslon, Kearsley, and Lowndes. The Tonsons appear to have been the owners of the whole of many valuable copyrights, but at the sale these were divided into fractions to suit purchasers. Thus Addison's Miscellanies and Travels was offered in 20ths, and fetched on the average £14 per share. Other notable lots were as follows: 1/8 Congreve's works, £25, equals whole, £200. 1/20 Croxall's Aesop, £15, equals whole, £300. 1/8 Dryden's Fables, 6 guineas, equals whole, £50 8s. 1/12 Dryden's Plays, £8 10s, equals whole, £102. 1/10 Gay's Fables, £21 10s, equals whole, £215. 1/40 Glass's Cookery, £16 10s, equals whole, £660. 1/20 Milton's Paradise Lost, £46, equals whole, £920. 1/20 Milton's Paradise Regained, £13 10s, equals whole, £270. 1/8 Spenser's Faery Queen, £9 15s, equals whole, £76. A lot of plays in 12mo, amounting to 77,000 copies, fetched £730, and another lot of 14,000 in 4to and 8vo fetched £225. These include, besides Shakespeare's, a large selection from the drama of the Restoration. 2 lots are specified as follows: 1,290 copies of Richard III, Cibber's; 60 copies of Richard III, Shakespeare's; 995 copies of Tempest, Dryden's; 500 copies of Tempest, Shakespeare's. These sales were not periodical ones, but usually consisted of the quire and bound stock and copies of deceased members of the trade. The sale in many instances was announced to begin if 10 buyers were present. About 1760 the nature of the sales seems to have altered, and several booksellers combined to effect a clearance of stock. Thus one catalogue is headed "Knapton, Rivington, Johnston, and Law." At the death of Thomas Longman I in 1756, a sale of part of his stock took place. At the sale of W. Taylor in 1725, the name of Longman as a buyer first appears. William H. Peat, 39 Paternoster Row. End of Booksellers' Sales in the 18th Century by William H. Peat. Recording by Ruth Golding.